A woman sat in my chair last year, 53, spent good money on her skincare, but her foundation looked spackled on, dry around the nose, cracking at the smile lines, 2 shades too orange along her jaw. I asked what she was wearing. She told me the brand and said, the label says anti-aging, so I figured it was good for my skin. So I tested 11 of the most popular anti-aging foundations and rated them 1 to 10. 7 failed. Only 4 are worth your money, and the top scorer does something I've never seen a foundation do. Number 1, NARS Natural Radiant Longwear Foundation, 2 out of 10. The bottle says radiant, but what I actually got was greasy by hour 3, and then a strange tacky film that would not set no matter how long I waited or how much powder I pressed on top. NARS built their reputation on gorgeous, editorial quality finishes, and I respect the brand for that. But this formula does not understand mature texture. It slides right off the high points of your face, your forehead, your cheekbones, the bridge of your nose, and pools in the low points around your smile lines and under your eyes. That tug of war between oily on top and creased underneath is the worst combination for women over 40 because it draws attention to every area you're trying to soften. If you're dealing with combination skin that's gotten drier over the years, this will fight you all day. 2 out of 10. If that score surprised you, this next one is going to hurt. Number 2, Estée Lauder Double Wear Stay in Place Foundation, 3 out of 10. I know this one is going to upset some of you because double wear has been a ride or die for a lot of women for a long time, and in your 20s and 30s, it really is a solid, reliable pick. But once your skin starts losing moisture and changing texture, and it will, double wear becomes a problem. It does not move with your face. It sits on top like a thin plaster mask, and by midday it has settled into every expression line you've ever earned. You smile. It cracks. You talk. It creases along the jaw. The coverage is impressive and the staying power is real, but the trade-off is a stiff, heavy finish that looks more like a coating than skin. On camera, on mature faces, it photographs flat and tired. 3 out of 10. But at least double wear has staying power on its side. This next one doesn't even have that. Number 3. Clinique. Even better clinical serum foundation. 1 out of 10. I wanted this to work because Clinique has been around for decades and they've always positioned themselves as the sensible, dermatologist-backed option at the department store counter. The packaging is clean, the marketing is medical, and it makes you feel like you're making a smart purchase. But this formula on mature skin is rough. It grabs onto every dry patch like it's desperate. Within 2 hours, it had separated around my nose and was sitting in the creases next to my mouth like tiny rivers of beige. By hour 5, the colour had shifted warmer, and the finish looked dusty and chalky under my bathroom vanity lighting. If your skin has any texture at all, and at our age it does, this formula will find it and announce it to the room. 1 out of 10. And unfortunately, the next one on this list is not much better. Number 4, Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Soft Matte Longwear Foundation, 2 out of 10. Rihanna changed the beauty industry when it comes to shade range, and I will always respect what she did with 40 shades. That was a real turning point for women who had been overlooked by every major brand for years. But Pro Filter was built for younger skin that can handle a matte dry down without looking parched, and on a mature face it sets like paint on drywall. The soft matte they promise becomes a stiff, tight matte that cracks when you smile and creases when you talk. My smile lines looked like origami folds by hour 4, and the area around my eyes had gone completely flat and papery. 2 out of 10, and the shade range is the only reason it didn't score lower. Now, this next one is different from everything else on this list. Number 5, Luxe Color Changing Foundation, 10 out of 10. Luxe uses a color-changing technology that reads your skin's pH level and undertone and adjusts to match you within about 60 seconds. I watched it shift on the back of my hand before I even blended it onto my face, and by the time I worked it in, it had settled into my exact tone. In Korean beauty, we have a philosophy called skin first, where your base should work with your skin instead of covering it up. That is exactly what this formula does. On my fine lines, it smoothed over them instead of settling in. It moved with my face when I talked and smiled, and at hour 8 under my ring light, it still looked like I had just applied it. One of my clients told me, "You can get this cheaper on Amazon, so I'm going to leave a link in the description below." 10 out of 10. After that high point, this one brought me right back down. Number 6, MAC Studio Fix Fluid Foundation, 3 out of 10. MAC knows pigment, they know color, and Studio Fix gives you legitimate full coverage in one pass, which sounds great on paper. But the SPF in this formula causes flashback in photos. You will look washed out and ghostly in every picture taken with a flash, which for women over 40 who are taking pictures at dinners, family events, and vacations is a real problem. On top of that, the formula is too dense for mature skin. At the 5-hour mark, it had settled into every pore on my cheeks like tiny dots and was starting to break apart around my nose and chin. It looked like my foundation was slowly disintegrating. 3 out of 10. But this next one completely turned the list around. Number 7, Hourglass Vanish Seamless Finish Liquid Foundation, 8 out of 10. Hourglass quietly makes some of the most refined base products in the beauty industry, and this formula impressed me from the first pump. The coverage is buildable, meaning you can go sheer for a natural everyday look or layer it for something more polished without it ever looking cakey or heavy. The finish dries down to a soft satin that flatters texture instead of accentuating every fine line and pore. At the 5-hour check, my skin still looked fresh, and the color had stayed true with zero oxidation and no orange drift along my jawline. Where it lost 2 points was the under eye area, where I noticed slight creasing in the fine lines beneath my lower lashes by hour 7. But that is a small flaw in an otherwise beautifully built foundation for mature skin. 8 out of 10. After that winner, this one was painful. Number 8, Tarte Amazonian Clay Full Coverage Foundation, 1 out of 10. Tarte's clay formula is so thick that blending it felt like spreading frosting on a dry cake. I could not get it to look like actual skin no matter what tool I used. Brush, sponge, fingers, warming it in my palms first. Nothing helped. On a mature face, full coverage, this heavy amplifies every bit of texture you have. Pores look bigger, fine lines look deeper, and that little bit of crepiness near the eyes suddenly becomes the first thing you notice when you check the mirror. By mid-afternoon, it had dried down so aggressively matte that my face looked chalky, flat, and lifeless. If your skin runs even a little dry, and after 40 most of ours does, this will age you before lunch. 1 out of 10. This next one almost made it through. Almost. Number 9. IT Cosmetics. Your Skin But Better, CC plus Cream. 4 out of 10. IT cosmetics markets heavily to mature women, and the application does start off looking pretty decent. Smooth coverage, fair color match, comfortable feel on the skin. But the heavy SPF in this formula creates a white cast under certain lighting, which shows up the worst in photos and on video calls. And by hour 6, the whole thing had broken down around my chin and forehead. There's also a slightly greasy quality to how it wears that builds over the course of the day. Your T-zone ends up looking slick, while the drier parts of your face still look patchy and uneven. The intention behind this product is right, but the execution falls apart over a full day of wear. 4 out of 10. Close, but not close enough. But the next foundation on this list actually delivered. Number 10. Armani Beauty Luminous Silk Foundation. 7 out of 10. Luminous Silk has been a backstage favorite at Milan Fashion Week and editorial beauty shoots for years, and I understand why. The texture is thin and silky. It actually blends into your skin instead of sitting on top like a coating, and the finish has a natural glow that does not cross over into greasy or shimmery territory. On a mature face, it gives you that healthy, well-rested look so many of us are chasing, where people can't quite tell if you're wearing makeup or just had the best sleep of your life. The reason it lost 3 points is lasting power. By hour 6, it had faded around my nose and chin, and I needed a touch-up to bring it back. For a shorter day or a dinner out, this is beautiful. For all-day wear, it needs help staying put. 7 out of 10. And the last one on this list scored just as high as number 7. Number 11, Lancôme Teint Idol Ultra Wear Foundation, 8 out of 10. Lancôme has always marketed itself as a luxury brand for grown women, and Teint Idol actually backs that up. The formula blends beautifully, and the finish has a soft focus quality that visually blurs fine lines and pores without looking filtered, airbrushed, or fake. It lasted a solid 7 hours before I saw any real breakdown, and even then it faded gracefully instead of cracking or separating the way half this list did. The shade options are strong and the packaging feels elevated. It lost 2 points because, as good as it is, this formula still sits where you place it. It does not adapt to your skin throughout the day. It performs well on top of your face, but it is still working against gravity and movement rather than alongside them. 8 out of 10. That is 11 foundations and a lot of hours in front of my mirror, so you don't have to waste your money finding out the hard way. In Korea, we say your skin tells the truth, and all your foundation can do is decide whether to honor that truth or fight against it. After 30 years of doing this for a living, I can tell you that most of these brands are still fighting. The four that passed prove it does not have to be that way. When a formula is actually built for mature skin, you can see the difference from the first blend. Your face looks like your face, just more polished, more rested, more like you on your best day. And that is what a good foundation should do.